We have an update tonight on this blue-eyed little girl we've dubbed Baby Hadley. When we first brought you her story last week, she was headed to Duke University in hopes of halting the rare genetic disorder called Krabbe's disease. It's taking her skills one by one. At 15 months, she was at the developmental stage of a 2-month-old. Now her parents have learned she's only at 1 month. Britton Follett tells us why Hadley's parents flew her back to Oklahoma without the good news they were hoping for.
Dad are smiling, while Hadley still can't.
She's smiling, she's laughing, and we're cherishing every single one of those.
Because they don't know when the smiles will stop. A couple of months ago, Hadley had no problem posing for the camera. Now, she can't even lift her arm.
They told us that she was too far progressed into the disease, that if we did decide to go ahead and go through with the transplant, she would be in a
Parents say they're going to make the most of their time with Hadley. She loves bright colors and lots of activity, so they want to take her to an aquarium and to Disney World.
She is a beautiful little thing. Her parents seem to be amazingly strong through that.
They are. It's been amazing just talking to them about this.
You're watching News 9 at 10.
Back in September, we introduced you to baby Hadley, a 15-month-old who had just been diagnosed with Krabbe disease, a rare genetic disorder that caused her to lose her skills one by one, including her smile. Britton Follett tells us why there may be hope for Hadley and other babies.
Doctors told Hadley's parents she had between 6 months and a year to live. There was no cure. She'd eventually lose all of her motor skills. It's been 7 months.
This is going to be it. She's wasn't able to do much at all. She was really struggling to even just exist, basically. So we thought that this was going to be the end of Miss Hadley.
Mom and Dad decided to try some new supplements for Hadley, designed to help her cells communicate better. And Hadley started moving again.
As you can see, she's trying to sit up right now by herself. That's a good girl. Okay. Yeah, see, that was new.
She started growing hair, gaining weight. All the things doctors said would stop.
We have a long way to go. Yeah, we have a long way. But we've gone up the hill instead of continuing to slide back down it.
For the first time in months, she's even sleeping in the room with her name on the wall.
We're hoping to call you guys back and say, come look at her, she's walking.
In the meantime, they'll settle for the smile.
Cole's parents bought a home that was defective when he was 18 months old. Besides that, they didn't know that the smoke detectors didn't work. And Cole's mother, very tearfully and emotionally, described how the house caught on fire and Cole's 6-year-old brother died of smoke inhalation damage in her arms. Her 18-month-old Cole, who's about 5 years old here, was in coma, deep coma. The only evidence of life left was he had a heartbeat and he breathed on his own. He was in persistent vegetative state. He was fed by a feeding tube. He had no reflexes. No tracheostomy was done because he didn't even have a gag reflex. Went to Cole's mother and said, try this, it works. And she tried it. And in about 6 weeks, he moved the fingers on one hand. He came out of coma. And when I visited and came into the room, he was following me with his left eye. He was propped up on a pillow so he can move his hands and legs. And there's a little girl here who this mother told this mother about it. And she had been in an auto accident and been in coma for 2 years. And she has come out and is progressing faster even than Cole. That shows you I was there. Now, Cole did not talk when he went into coma, and he had made no sounds. I suggested that he double the glyconutrients she was putting in his feeding tube, and in about 2 weeks she called me excited and crying with joy. She said, when I come in the room now and he sees me and he follows me with his eyes, he goes, ooh. And I said, well, that's wonderful vocalization, but it may even show some intelligence because his mother's kind of cute. They brought in speech therapists, and last fall I'm informed that he started kindergarten. Now, in the year 2000, at his annual evaluation in coma, at about 3 years of age. This is the 19-lead EEG pattern of brain activity. He had come out of coma and was moving and following things. This was his brain activity. I tell you that those cells look like neurons, they're in the place of neurons, and they work. There are other things that this does for children. This is a rhabdomyosarcoma of the muscles in the eye. The little girl, you can't tell it so bad, but her eye is distorted. And in combination with chemotherapy, and we have a best case series in cancer cases of glioblastoma multiformes, pancreatic cancers, sarcomas such as this, and then other cancers that were on hospice and sent home to plan their funeral. In that last group, I've got a guy that planned his funeral 20 years ago, and I see him at Rotary on a regular basis on Fridays, which I'll probably see tomorrow. This little girl went through all this. Her quality of life was much better, and here's her response a year later. A girl that was born with Sturge-Weber syndrome. Can you imagine her trying to go to grade school with other children and the type of problem she would have? But I was contacted by the mother because she was having about 10 seizures an hour, epileptic seizures. She has now gone 3 years without a seizure, and I'm informed that her coordination, her intelligence, her socialization is the highest they've ever seen in the Canadian health system for a Sturge-Weber child. They're using laser with these internally dietary supplements, and then we have topicals, and she's having a major improvement in her appearance to help her social. This is Brooke, that was born with about a 3-centimeter length blind pocket for an esophagus. That's incompatible with life, and she was sustained by hyperalimentation. But at the wonders of modern medicine, they took a segment of small bowel and tunneled under the sternum and brought it up and hooked her stomach to that blind pouch to be able to get food in. As you might imagine, that doesn't work too well, and she had many studies over a period of time, but the mother got her on the dietary supplements we're speaking of, and as they did studies, they realized that down at the stomach, a protrusion began to come and began to grow upward, like a esophagus does in the embryo, and the blind pouch began to extend. The reason I show you that is I hope you'll say, how in the world is this possible? Like this one, Andrea, in California, at 25 weeks when they were doing scans of the uterus, ultrasound, they realized that the arms and legs were not proportional to the body and the head that they should be. So they did amniocentesis and found out she had the gene defect of achondroplastic dwarfism. You're aware of that. It's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And this is considered a permanent, forever and always condition. In pregnancy, the mother started these dietary supplements added to her prenatals, and she was born and she had the deformities of the head and the very short from the wrist to the elbow proportions of the long bones, and immediately started adding the dietary supplements to her diet. She is now 5.5 years old, and the doctors are astounded. Her face changes, the proportions have normalized. The lengths of her long bones are normal, and they've x-rayed the growth centers, and rather than being disorganized, now they are normal, and they anticipate normal development of this child. I hope your question is, how in the world is this possible?